Good morning. I am Samriddhi K.C. and these are the headlines of the hour. Today marks 10 complete years of devastating earthquake. Hundreds of houses still awaiting reconstruction. Government fails to prioritize the relocation of at-risk settlements. Budget session of the Parliament to kick off from today. Prime Minister K.P. Sharma Oli is scheduled to address the Parliament. Preparations underway to pass the education bill. U.S. President Donald Trump urges Russian President Vladimir Putin to stop attacks on Ukraine. U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff to visit Moscow soon for peace talks. And Royal Challengers Bengaluru defeat Rajasthan Royals by 11 runs in the ongoing Indian Premier League. Kohli and Hazelwood's excellent performance powered team to the win. Thousands of archaeologically significant heritage sites, government and private buildings and other structures were damaged by the devastating earthquake, with hundreds of houses still awaiting reconstruction. Since 2015, 3 additional earthquakes have caused further human and material losses. Despite this, the government has failed to prioritize the relocation of at-risk settlements and the provision of temporary housing for affected communities.
Today marks the 9th anniversary of the Gorkha earthquake, which struck on 25th of April 2015 at 11:56 a.m. local time with a magnitude of 7.6 and an epicenter in Barbak. Over the past decade, approximately 56,000 aftershocks have been recorded, including 602 of magnitude 4 or higher, according to the National Seismological Center. In the past 2 years alone, 77 earthquakes have occurred in western Nepal. Aftershocks from the Jajarkot earthquake of October 2023 have been recorded 3 times this April. In total, 9,140 people have died due to earthquakes in the past decade, with billions of rupees in physical damage.
गोर्खा अर्थक्वेक जुन गयो नि त्यसको परकम्प मात्र हाम्रो चाहिँ 56,000 वटा गइसक्यो परकम्प त्यही रप्चरमा जानेलाई हामीले परकम्प भन्छौं त्यो 56,000 गइसक्यो र त्यसमा चाहिँ फेरि 4 भन्दा माथिको त्यो गोर्खा अर्थक्वेक परकम्पमा 4 भन्दा माथिको हामीसँग 602 भन्दा बढी डेटाहरु छन् बढी इभेन्टहरु छन् भनेपछि त्यो त आफ्नो ठाउँमा छ त्यसबाहेक पनि पश्चिम नेपालमा चाहिँ फ्रिक्वेन्टली पछिल्लो 2 वर्षमा हामीले हेर्यौं 77 वटा भूकम्प गएको छन् 4 भन्दा माथिका त्यो भनेको अलिकति पश्चिममा चाहिँ बढी अर्थक्वेक जाने एक्टिभिटीहरु बढी बढेको त्यो पछिल्लो 2 वर्षको डेटाले देखाउँछ.
Nepal is highly vulnerable to seismic activity, experiencing an average of 10 earthquakes and aftershocks daily. The earthquake in western Nepal, including Gorkha, caused full or partial damage to 1.15 million homes. However, the government has not prioritized the rehabilitation of affected communities, leaving many victims of the 2015 earthquake still residing in temporary shelters built in its aftermath.
पहिले त 7 पॉइंट चान्जुन आएछ अहिले त 5-6 मत आए पनि मेरो विचारमा चाहिँ ढल्किन्छ होला के अब मतलब भड्किन्छ होला भने.
According to official data, the Gorkha earthquake damaged more than 1 million houses, of which 400,000 remain unreconstructed. The government lacks information on their current status, whether victims have rebuilt or continue to live in unsafe, damaged structures. The recent earthquakes in Doti, Bajhang and Jajarkot damaged an additional 95,000 houses. As of early April, damage assessments have been completed for 9,805 households in Doti and 37,440 in Jajarkot, while assessments in Bajhang have yet to begin. Although the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Authority allocated approximately 4 billion Nepali rupees for temporary housing, delays at the district and local levels have prevented disbursement, leaving victims unable to construct temporary shelters.
त्यही भन्नै मध्ये अब त्यो कोही कोहीको त होला किन्न होला हैन हुने हो तर सबै होला भन्ने मलाई विश्वास छैन.
गोर्खा भूकम्पबाट लेसन लर्न गरेर तत्कालै चाहिँ आईआरए भन्छ इनिशियल र्यापिड चाहिँ के रे एसेसमेन्ट गर्ने भन्छ द्रुत प्रारम्भिक लेखाजोखा गर्ने अनि डीडीए गर्ने काम जो गर्नु पर्थ्यो त्यो चाहिँ गर्न सकिएको देखिएन. त्यसमा विभिन्न समस्याहरू छ.
While earthquakes are natural phenomena that cannot be prevented, their impact can be mitigated through proactive measures such as selecting safe locations and constructing earthquake-resistant buildings.
पोलिटिकल सर्कलभित्र पनि त्यो सम्बन्धी के अरे अलिकति बुझ्न खोज्ने अथवा त्यसलाई अगाडि बढाउन खोज्ने प्लानिङमा इन्टिग्रेट गर्न खोज्ने मान्छेहरू नभएको पनि भएन तर तिनीहरू पनि के हुँदो रहेछ भने पछाडि पर्दा रहेछन् भन्ने जस्तो देखिन्छ त्यसकारणले मेन कुरा चाहिँ के छ भने एउटा भनेको पोलिटिकल स्टेबिलिटीको कुरा स्टेबल नहुँदाखेरिको कुरा हो र अर्को पोलिटिक्सले चाहिँ के गरिरहेछ भन्दाखेरि तपाईँको यो विज्ञान प्रविधिको क्षेत्र र विशेष गरी भन्दाखेरि विपदको क्षेत्रलाई पनि उहाँहरूले चाहिँ त्यो लेभलमा जुन लेभलमा चाहिँ उहाँहरू संवेदनशील हुनुपर्ने हो त्यो लेभलको संवेदनशील चाहिँ देखेको पाइँदैन हामीले
Despite numerous earthquakes and significant loss of life and property since the 1934 earthquake, insufficient attention has been given to precautionary measures and resilient infrastructure. Even those who experienced the devastating earthquakes of 2015 and the recent Jajarkot quake show limited focus on preparedness. Earthquake safety lies in proactive risk reduction and resilience.
The budget session of the Federal Parliament is starting today. Political parties have also formulated their respective strategies regarding the budget session. The session of the both houses of Parliament has been called for 1 p.m. today. It is scheduled that Prime Minister K.P. Sharma Oli will address the House of Representatives meeting. Although this is a budget session, the government has committed to presenting the education bill in this very session. Political parties have also made their preparations on how to present themselves in the monsoon session. The main opposition party, the Maoist Centre, has decided to play a strong role in the budget session. In today's meeting of the Maoist Parliamentary Party, Chairperson Pushpa Kamal Dahal directed them to play a role in exerting pressure to incorporate the voices of the people in the policy and program and pre-budget discussions. The meeting also decided to put pressure to advance the school education bill. Likewise, the Rashtriya Swatantra Party RSP has decided to play an effective role in Parliament in the interest of the country and the people and to play a strong role in the discussions of the budget session. On the first day of the budget session, the Chief Whip of Nepali Congress, Shyam Ghimire, will address the Parliament while Gokarna Bista will present the party's views on behalf of CPN-UML. Although Prime Minister Oli is scheduled to speak at the beginning of the budget session, it is not yet decided who will speak as the leader of the opposition party, as chair of the Maoist Centre Pushpa Kamal Dahal has reached his constituency in Gorkha. The RSP has already decided that DP Aryal will address the Parliament meeting. The agenda for the first meeting of today's budget session does not include 0 hour and special hour. The Supreme Court has issued an order in the name of the government to create an environment for the protesting teachers in Kathmandu to return to school within 3 days. A single bench of Supreme Court Justice Nakul Subedi issued this order yesterday. The court has ordered the government to take appropriate decisions regarding the immediate address of the legitimate and constitutional demands of the protesting teachers and to ensure an environment for regular teaching and learning by the teachers returning to schools within 3 days. The teachers have been engaged in a Kathmandu-centric protest since 2nd of April and have halted academic activities since 7th of April, disrupting school education. Due to the strike, the grade 12 examinations have also been postponed. With America's announcement to halt the Millennium Challenge Corporation (MCC), the future of the projects currently underway has become uncertain. As soon as the U.S. Agency for International Development (USAID) stopped, development projects were affected, and now the decision to halt another development partner organization will also impact Nepal. Currently, a situation has arisen where the projects under MCC must be operated by the Nepal government with its own resources.
The work of the Millennium Challenge Corporation (MCC) projects, which came into implementation from Nepalese month of Bhadra 2081, had been progressing well. During this period, MCC Nepal had completed tender agreements for 3 substations. Among these, work had already commenced in Butwal, Nawalparasi West, Nuakot and Damoli. In Bhadra 2081, a tender agreement was completed for the 18-kilometer-long Lamahi-Shibakhar transmission line under the electricity transmission project. Likewise, preparations were underway this year to invite bids again for the 297-kilometer transmission line. This year, the bid was also approved for upgrading the road from Dhankola to Lamahi. According to the Ministry of Finance officials, the work had been progressing well since its implementation. However, following America's announcement to halt MCC itself, uncertainty looms over the future of these projects. The Ministry of Finance now needs to formulate a strategy on how to operate the projects. Ministry of Finance officials have stated that the remaining projects under MCC will have to be operated by the government itself. However, with difficulties in securing funds for ongoing expenses, Ministry of Finance officials are concerned about how to bear MCC's annual liability of 1.8 billion. On the other hand, contractors who have been awarded tenders by MCC are still working, but there is uncertainty about who will make their payments and how. The US government's Department of Government Efficiency, led by Elon Musk, has decided to halt the Millennium Challenge Corporation. This decision will affect many developing countries, including Nepal, where projects are underway. MCC has been operating grant projects in 20 low-income countries, including Nepal. Nepal signed the Millennium Challenge Compact on 2074, 29th of Bhadra, according to the Nepalese calendar, and after a long dispute, the parliament approved the MCC agreement on 2078, Fagun 15, with a majority. Under this, America was to provide $500 million in grants, and Nepal was to invest $130 million. Out of the grant, $400 million was allocated for transmission line and substation construction, and $5.2 billion was to be spent for road upgrading. The government has already announced 2 projects under MCC assistance as national pride projects.
Welcome back. In our Public Voice segment, we have asked in several provinces what should be done to make democracy sustainable and robust. Let's take a look at what they had to say.
समाजलाई परिवर्तन गर्नको लागि सामाजिक, आर्थिक, सांस्कृतिक यी सबै कुराहरूलाई समेटेर सम्पूर्ण राजनीतिक दल, नागरिक समाज अनि चाहिँ जनता सबै लाग्यो भने लोकतन्त्रलाई समृद्ध र विकास गर्न सकिन्छ।
नेताहरूले यो लोकतन्त्रको मूल्य र मान्यतालाई एकदम बलियो बनाउन जनताको लागि सोच्न पर्छ।
सबै ठाउँमा सबै व्यक्तिहरू इमानदार भएर काम गर्नुपर्दछ। भ्रष्टाचार गर्नु भएन। देशमा सबैले आफ्नो ठाउँबाट आफ्नो काम कर्तव्य र जिम्मेवारी पूरा गर्यो भने लोकतन्त्र बलियो र दिगो हुन्छ भन्ने कुरा म यहाँ विश्वास गर्दछु।
लोकतन्त्रमा आएका व्यवस्थाहरूलाई सुनिश्चित गर्नको लागि उत्तरदायित्व जनताहरूले सोधेको बेलामा, जनताहरूले खोजेको बेलामा, जनताहरूले चाहेको बेलामा जनताहरूलाई उत्तरदायित्व हुने खालको काम, पारदर्शी हुने खालको काम गर्नुपर्दछ।
सम्पूर्ण नागरिकहरूले एकताको रूपमा बाँधिएर विकास निर्माणहरुमा हातेमाले गर्नु पर्यो, समृद्धिको लागि लड्नु पर्यो। भ्रष्टाचार गर्न भएन। भ्रष्टाचार समाज बनाउनको लागि सबैले आफ्नो ठाउँमा अहम भूमिका निभाउनु पर्छ।
विशेष गरी राजनीतिक दलहरूले यस विषयलाई गम्भीरतापूर्वक लिनुपर्दछ। लोकतन्त्रलाई बलियो बनाउन पर्याप्त कानुन बनाउनु पर्यो, कानुन कार्यान्वयनमा जोड दिनु पर्यो र स्थानीय तहलाई चाहिँ बलियो बनाउनु पर्यो।
यो अहिलेको जुन संघीय संरचना छ यसलाई एकदम फेरबदल गर्नुपर्छ। यो संरचना एकदम ठुलो छ, सांसदहरूको संख्या अत्यन्तै धेरै छ, जनतामा गुनासो आइरहेछ। म ताप्लेजुङबाट बोल्दैछु। ताप्लेजुङमा 1,25,000 जनसङ्ख्या छ। यहाँ ताप्लेजुङको लागि एउटा सांसद भएपछि यहाँबाट 6 जना सांसद चाहिँदैन। यो बढी भएको छ।
देशका शीर्ष नेताहरूले नेपालको संविधानमा रहेको छिद्रहरूलाई संशोधन गरी त्यसअनुसार नेपालको संविधानलाई पूर्ण रूपमा कार्यान्वयन गर्नुपर्छ।
वास्तविक व्यवस्थामुखी शासन प्रणाली सबैले अवलम्बन गर्नुपर्छ।
लोकतन्त्रको लागि हैन, नेताहरूले जनताको मर्मअनुसार काम गर्नुपर्छ।
यो जुनसुकै पार्टीको राजनीतिक दलहरूको हाम्रो नेताहरू हुनुहुन्छ, उहाँहरूले चाहिँ जनताको रक्षाको लागि काम गर्नु पर्यो, जनताहरूले चाहे जस्तोको काम गर्नु पर्यो र मानव अधिकारको रक्षा गर्नु पर्यो र यो भ्रष्टाचार मुक्त देश बनाउनु पर्यो।
Generally, a party in power is expected to win the people's trust by delivering services. Currently, there's a UML-led government in the country. Dissatisfaction is growing with that complaints that the government has been unable to perform. However, instead of working to earn the people's trust, the UML is inclined towards demonstrating power by bringing its supporters to the streets.
Claiming it as a day of victory for democracy, the CPN-UML organized a power demonstration in Kathmandu on Thursday with the claim of gathering 100,000 youths under 40 years of age. The UML held a youth-oriented program at Prikuti Mandap with music and dance. In other words, the UML wanted to show the surge of youth support towards the party. Regardless of the attendance and nature of the program, it was ultimately a power demonstration by the UML. Why did the party leading the government resort to a street power demonstration instead of winning the people's trust through the government?
यो देशमा चाहिँ फेरि चाहिँ पश्चगामी बाटोमा देशलाई लान चाहने हैन देशको लोकतन्त्रलाई कुनै न कुनै प्रकारले चाहिँ यो सारा असफलता लोकतन्त्रका कारणले भइराखेको छ भने जस्तो गरी भाष्य स्थापित गर्न खोज्ने र आम जनतामा लोकतन्त्रप्रति वितृष्णा फैलाउन खोज्ने यस्ता दुष्प्रचारहरू दुष्प्रयत्नहरू भएका छन् ती सबै कुरा मिथ्या हुन् ती यथार्थको जगमा छैनन् यसको धेरै ठुलो ऐतिहासिक महत्त्व छ यो परिवर्तनको भन्ने कुरा आम नयाँ पुस्तालाई स्थापित गर्नको लागि पनि यो वास्तवमा अत्यन्तै महत्त्वपूर्ण कार्यक्रम भएको छ।
This is not the first time the UML has taken to the streets for a power demonstration while in government. On October 23rd, they organized a program called Awakening Assembly in Darbar Marg, Kathmandu. Prime Minister Oli himself was present at that program. Likewise, on the occasion of Constitution Day on September 19th, they held a National Day concert. Furthermore, they also conducted a motorcycle rally in Kathmandu led by General Secretary Shankar Pokhrel. Through all these programs, the UML has been demonstrating its power, sometimes in the name of Democracy Day and other times against those who question the system. The UML has been coming to the streets to show its strength.
राजनीतिक दलहरूले आफ्ना युवाहरूलाई भिडमा फेर्न चाहिरहेछ नागरिकको बदला कार्यकर्ताको बदला भिडमा फेर्न चाहिरहेछ र कुनै पनि बेला त्यो औजार हामी कसैको पनि विरुद्धमा प्रयोग गर्न सक्दछौं भनेर कहिले यस्ता अरिङ्गाल भनेर भन्छन् कहिले चाहिँ के चाहिँ सेना भन्छन् कहिले के भन्छन् कसरी के भन्छन् युवाहरूमा लालदास बन्न चाहने चाहना र विवेकलाई प्रयोग गर्न नचाहने एउटा जनमत त्यसैको परिणामले गर्दाखेरि युवाहरूलाई बेरोजगार मात्रै बनाइएको छैन कि राजनीतिक रूपमा लठैतको रूपमा प्रयोग गर्न चाहिएको छ र विवेकहीन कार्यकर्ताको रूपमा प्रयोग गर्न चाहिएको छ।
It has been 9.5 months since the UML-led government was formed with the support of the Nepali Congress. In this period, the government has not been able to introduce any youth-oriented programs. Instead, the government is facing criticism from the youth. The most frustrated right now are the teachers, employees, and even doctors are on the streets with various demands. It is the responsibility of the UML-led government to address the legitimate demands. However, the UML party ranks, instead of pressuring the government to solve the country's problems, are competing to demonstrate power on the streets under various pretexts. There is criticism that it is wrong for those in government to take to the streets like opposition parties.
यो एउटा दुर्भाग्य हो र संसारमा यस्तो अभ्यासहरू कमै पाइन्छ। सरकारमा बस्दाखेरि ता योजना कार्यक्रम आशा विश्वास र नयाँ भूमिकाको रूपमा हुन सक्छ र देशकै गार्जियन हुन पर्छ सरकार भनेको कुनै पार्टीको हुने पार्टीको रूपबाट त जान्छ।
It may be natural for opposition parties to demonstrate power on the streets, but right now, the UML is leading the government and also on the streets. There is an ongoing debate about how appropriate it is to come out and demonstrate power on the streets instead of winning trust by promptly carrying out the people's work while in the government.
It is time for our segment Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion. The question is, what was the likely objective of CPN-UML's youth-focused demonstration? Option A, to show the support to the government. Option B, to activate party members. And option C, to assess youth dissatisfaction. The voting is on. Type NEWS, select your option A, B or C and send it to 340. That is all for the moment. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.